I feel like we're going to do another reaction video in a couple of years' time or months where Joe Rogan's actually going to become a theist.
With Joe Rogan, for someone to be a celebrity, to have access to pretty much everything, to still be interested in this topic, what does it tell you about human nature?
No, it just shows you the fitra.
Yeah.
And now people are waking up. Atheism is dead. I mean, if you think about it, it is actually dead.
By the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the response has been overwhelming, to say the very least. Alhamdulillah, we've had social media personalities and respected scholars, shuyukh from many parts of the Muslim world promoting the cause. We have raised almost £1.4 million, alhamdulillah, and we haven't been sitting idly waiting to hit our target of 2 million. We have fully purchased 4 properties in London, transferred their ownership to the Waqf after the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. None of this would be possible without your support. So we thank you once again. This is our update to yourselves. We encourage you to stay tuned for more updates now that the work, alhamdulillah, is truly underway.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to this video. We are going to be reacting to Joe Rogan and Stephen Meyer's podcast. Do you watch Joe Rogan?
I don't. I watch like here and there, clips here and there, but I've never watched a full podcast.
Okay, so I love watching Joe Rogan. I have to admit, I thought you didn't. I think you didn't expect that when I told you this before.
No, you didn't.
Very long podcast, but interesting. Very interesting stuff. He speaks about science, and the thing is, he speaks to everyone. Speaks to atheists, speaks to theists, speaks to people interested in aliens, speaks to people that do drugs. Everything you can imagine. Politics. Everyone, left, right. You must have seen his clips everywhere.
I've seen his clips definitely. I've never watched the whole thing. You told me that a lot of drug.
He's into psychedelics and LSD.
Yeah, a lot of drug users watch him. You're not one of them.
No, I'm not. And he's had Trump. He's had Elon Musk. He's had all these famous people.
Yeah.
So, firstly, why is he interested in this topic? Because everyone's affected by this. Is there a God? Is there design? Is there life after death? Is there spirituality? Are we all matter? No one can escape this, no matter how rich or popular you are.
Exactly, and I think Joe Rogan's a staunch agnostic / atheist. He's been very vocal about religion being this or that. He really looks down on it. So to me, let's see, because I really want to see, is he inclining towards being an intelligent design?
There have been big shifts in science and philosophy that are putting materialism on the defensive and are opening people to spiritual realities that were not even considered in the late 19th century among elite intellectuals, or among most elite intellectuals through the last 100 years. But I think that's shifting.
I think there's a real danger of being an elite intellectual and all agreeing upon a very specific thing that gives you social credit to sort of espouse.
We've seen that in a lot of things, haven't we?
Yeah, we certainly have. And it's just, there's so many mysteries. And the mystery of design, the possibility of design is so intriguing to so many people. And it means so many different things to so many different people. Like what?
Whoa. When I heard that, because I was listening to this 3-hour podcast, I think I was going gym, different things. I was like, whoa. Like this guy, he's saying the possibility of design is so intriguing to so many people. And, I didn't expect him to have that reaction.
Yeah.
Also, it's unexpected that he's going to be talking to Stephen Meyer, who's an intelligent design proponent, about his books, about his ideas, about spirituality. And in this clip, he also talks about the danger of being an elite intellectual and agreeing upon basically scientific materialism. Everything's matter. So he's definitely moving away from the Dawkins new atheism type of scientism.
The last point you mentioned, say that again. He's saying what about the elites?
Being an intellectual elite, there's a danger where everybody comes together and then they agree this is reality, and then they have this blinkered view.
Basically to say that, because in science you can't come and say this is an established fact. There's a lot of there's a lot of hypotheses, you get it, and there's a lot of theories,
fluctuations.
Exactly. So,
but also the rejection of spirituality, rejection of God.
Exactly, and they speak so boldly. That's the reason why when we was talking about what's his name, Dennis Noble.
Yeah.
When he was interviewed by those 2 young kids, because he's talking about directed evolution.
Yeah.
Or in the gene, etc. Yeah. So they were talking to him and they were saying, look, we understand you're doing this research, etc., but this is going to open the door to believing in God again. And we know that Francis Crick, he spoke about, we leave God outside.
Whatever you see evolved, it wasn't designed.
You cannot bring God into the picture. So it's interesting that Joe Rogan being so staunch and, making it seem as if religious people are a bit,
I mean, a standard American liberal, right? Religion's backwards, that. But
he's
he's deemed this topic important enough. Because look, Stephen Meyer, all he's known for is to talk about God.
Yeah.
And in fact, he is the exact opposite of Dawkins.
Exactly.
They both come from a evolution background, biology
Yeah.
background.
Yeah.
One believes in God, one doesn't. One's a hardcore materialist, one is a hardcore believer in God, a theist. But he's recommending his books.
Exactly, and
That's
he's saying,
amazing.
And he's saying it's intriguing, and he also, he talks about it. So it shows that, when someone is really lost, for him to be like, what, it's not just the material world.
Yeah.
It is a thing of it's like an adventure. It's like, oh my gosh, what are the possibilities? What's next? So he's really intrigued, and it shows that I can see him coming to believe in a higher power and intelligence. I mean, with these words.
Clearly, he's rejected this type of materialism,
Yes,
hardcore
exactly.
materialism. They both have.
Yeah.
But that's the first segue
Exactly.
into this. So let's see what else they're talking about.
Like what does that mean? Is the universe alive? Is it a part of something that's even bigger than that? Is the universe itself just an atom and some infinite being that is also a part of a universe that's an atom and another infinite being? I mean,
This is why I wrote Return of a God Hypothesis. In the first two books, the first book was Signature in the Cell, about the origin of the first life, and I argued that the information-bearing properties of DNA and the information processing system that's present in even the very simplest cell presents a profound challenge to the idea of undirected evolutionary processes. A mind had to be involved, because what we know from our uniform and repeated experience is that whenever we see information and we trace it back to its source, whether we're talking about computer code or a hieroglyphic inscription or a paragraph in a book or information embedded in a radio signal, we always come to a mind, not an undirected material process. The people looking for extraterrestrial intelligence with SETI were looking for information-rich sequences embedded, modulated in a radio signal. And had they found them, they would have concluded, yes, there is definitely an extraterrestrial intelligence.
That's profound, because he's saying that information-rich sequence. So basically, even when we're looking for, is there life on other planets, we're looking for what? Information, because we know information points to an intelligence.
And he's referring here not to people who believe in God.
Yeah.
Any scientist who's
Exactly.
looking for life, they could be a
Exactly.
believer or not believer.
That is profound.
So he's basically, the logic of the design argument is there. Information, specified,
Yes.
complex, designer.
Bro, that's so profound. I'm going to use that in my arguments, because basically what that means is whoever you are, when you are looking for life in other planets, like we're talking about directive panspermia, which Richard Dawkins admitted, there might be aliens somewhere, yeah? No problem. That means in order for you to establish there's aliens, you look for what? Information-rich sequences, meaning you are looking for information so you can say, there's intelligence. We're saying, what about your DNA? Do you get what I'm trying to say? It's you can't make this stuff up.
Exactly. And what they do is, whenever we use the argument from DNA
Yeah.
or this or that, they say, oh, there's bad design, or we haven't seen the designer.
Yeah.
But when it comes for them
Yeah.
to look for intelligence out there, they look for information. So they
Exactly.
don't disagree with our logic.
Yeah.
They disagree when they know it's going to lead to God.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
Exactly. That's always been
Yeah,
the problem.
yeah,
They believe just like us. The difference is that they do not believe it's a power, a source of power, an intelligence being that has a will. That's the only difference.
Yeah. With Joe Rogan, one thing I wanted to add is for someone to be a celebrity, to have access to pretty much everything, right? To still be interested in this topic. What does it tell you about human
No,
nature?
it just shows you the fitra. There's that innate going. It's that question we're always asking: why? Why am I here? Who put me here? It's this. I've had this question when I was very young, bro. Like deep thought. It's just like you ask it. It's a normal human nature. It's like eating food. You ask the question, why the hell am I here, man? Who put me here? It's these questions that allows you to find God. And if you've noticed, Shaitan's job is to keep you occupied, that you don't have time to think about this stuff. And when you do have those moments where you're like, hold on a second, actually, why am I here? Where am I going? This is when it provokes the question to, there has to be something bigger. And many people I know have come to Islam and choosing religion and believing in God because of these simple questions.
Absolutely.
No one has found such a signal yet. But the presumption that information is a decisive indicator of prior intelligence is shared not just by theists or Christians. It was shared by the SETI people, or ID people. But having made that argument, my readers then wanted to know, well, who do you think the designing intelligence is, and what can science tell us about that? And what I do in the new book is look at competing metaphysical hypotheses: theism, deism, pantheism, panentheism, space alienism, and good old-fashioned materialism, and then compare their explanatory power with respect to these big three things that science has discovered, that the universe had a beginning, that it's been finely tuned from the beginning, and that since the beginning, we've had these big infusions of new code into our biosphere that make new forms of life possible. I think theism provides the best overall explanation of that, but I do think it is a completely new day, that it's the scientific materialism of the 19th century that's getting weird and exotic. And I think that's a way of saying that there's must be something more than just these simplistic materialistic explanations that we have defined as coextensive with science in such that we will not consider anything outside that box.
So, you know what's really powerful about that? What's really powerful is he's basically saying, when we have scientific materialism, that there's nothing but atoms, right? The way that they have to try and explain all of reality, the universe having a beginning, the universe being fine-tuned, there being code in life, and life being conscious, and life having intentionality and aboutness, and the fact that we're moral agents and we have these experiences. When you break down all of this and you try and break it down in terms of atoms, it doesn't make any sense. And the most harshest reality of this is atheists don't like the consequences of atheism. Because if atheism is true, there is no human rights, there is no morality, there's no intrinsic worth, there is no every single thing that we experience. You know, I love this person, I want to protect my child, I want, no, these are just chemical firings. That's all it is. It has no intrinsic value at all.
Exactly. I mean, I feel like we're going to do another reaction video in a couple of years' time or months, where Joe Rogan is actually going to become a theist. I think he's going to say, you know what, this is logically thinking. You know, a lot of people decided they follow trends and culture and fashion, and atheism was that. It came and went. It was just a fashion. People with insecurities, inferiority complex jumped on it, and now people are waking up. Atheism is dead. I mean, if you think about it, it is actually dead. You know, it has nothing to offer. It's literally not spiritually, not physically, has nothing to offer. So now people are waking up, and to see Joe Rogan heading towards the direction of accepting an intelligent design, or even intrigued at the possibility, to me shows that I think we're going to do another reaction very soon, and he's going to be like, you know what, there's definitely an intelligent design.
Absolutely. Jazakallah khair for watching. Please like, share and subscribe, and inshallah we're going to be reacting to more videos in the future.
Inshallah.
See you again.
Take care.